Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Unquestionably Raw NBA podcast. We had the trade deadline today, and we are joined by James Hollis tonight. How are you doing, James?
What up, fellas?
Yes, it's good to have you back. Also, my co-host, DJ Gonzo Star. What's going on, Gonzo?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Yes, and once again, Pete Toll. How's it going?
Oh, good. Hope everybody is doing well.
Outstanding. Let's jump right into it. So obviously, the Cleveland Cavaliers, to me, they made the most moves today. They bring in George Hill, they bring in Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, and they bring in Larry Nance Jr. So let's. I want to touch. We'll get into all the different things with the different teams, but I want to go to you, James. Man, what do you think the Cavs improved their team today with the moves they made?
On paper, they did. We always knew they needed to get a little younger, a little more versatile on the perimeter, and add a little, They had to shake it up. I don't know if you guys heard the comment from Kobe Altman. He said we were on a slow death march, and I didn't want to be any part of that. And it take a lot of guts just to totally gut a team that just had been to the last three finals. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I was going to say, does this team, obviously some people still thought they were the favorites in the East. I like Toronto better before the deadline. Do you think they now become, if you didn't think they were are they the favorites in the East?
This is my thing, man. We don't give any other team that kind of benefit of the doubt, right? This team, they got 29 games. Imagine if any other team, well, Boston did it, but I mean that's a little different, I think, right? Boston's probably the exception, not the rule. This team just revamped, it's top. They sent out 6 of their top, probably 8, 9 players. You know what I mean? So it's really hard to see. I guess we got to see how they fit. And I think I said this on Twitter: if LeBron gets this team to the finals, this would be his finest accomplishment, or his third finest. Because coming back.
Would this be more? Would you say this was a bigger accomplishment than him getting that awful team in 2007 to the finals?
That's why I said the third, because I think coming back against the Warriors was his first.
Okay, that's fair.
Yes. That 2007 team is the 2007 team would be the second, and this would be his third finest accomplishment.
Okay, nice. I like it, Pete. I know you got a lot to say about this. From the Cavs perspective, we'll get to what they shipped out later.
Okay. All right. So if you look at what's coming in, you basically have Rodney Hood that's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. So you get a good look at him. You have a chance to bring him back. Obviously, he started most of his career in Utah. So now he's going to be coming off the bench, preferably behind, J.R. Smith at the 2-guard spot. So that gives them a good scorer coming off. At the point guard spot is where I'm still a little bit worried. I really like George Hill as a player, but this year it's just been a down year. Whether that's been injuries plus kind of his mentality in Sacramento just because of the atmosphere there, I don't know. But hopefully he'll be able to elevate his game back, playing with LeBron, playing on a championship team.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
If I could just say, I think he's shooting 47% on catch and shoot threes. Yes, and we know, he was very vocal about how upset he was, that they were tanking. So you're absolutely right. And I'm going to bet on playing games that matter. We'll see a better George Hill.
Yes. Right. And that's where I was thinking, he would be able to play off the ball more so than preferably running the actual point guard spot, because we know LeBron's going to handle the ball, quite a bit. So that'll kind of give him open looks.
Exactly.
The other key is no Kevin Love right now. I think that might be something that maybe takes just a little bit of time. I don't think it's a big, worriment, but if he's coming back at the end of March, you kind of want to get into a groove end of March, going into early April, kind of getting into the playoffs. You want to see how Kevin Love is able to gel with some of the new guys as well. I do think Tristan Thompson sticks in the starting 5 because even though I like Larry Nance Jr., I think he's more that energy guy coming off the bench that you kind of rely on for just versatility all around the court. So I think he fits best there. I think going into today, they had a lot to worry about. I think coming out of today, I think you have to look at them as, really, strong contenders to be there in the finals. For me personally, it's really only Boston that's going to give them, any serious contention. I'm not huge on Toronto as an all-around team beating them in a 7-game series. I don't see that. I just don't. And I'm no knock on Toronto. I think they're a very good team. I just don't think collectively they beat a team like Cleveland or Boston in a 7-game series. I just
Pete,
don't.
Can I ask you a question? How much of that is based on Toronto's past failings? Because, let me ask you that.
About 50% of it. The other 50% is just looking at collectively. You have DeRozan, you have Lowry, but are you going to involve guys like CJ Miles? Are you going to have Valanciunas involved consistently, throughout the 7-game series? Not, all right, well, we went to him strong in this game. Well, the next game he has 6 points, 6 rebounds, and is kind of like an afterthought. So to me, that's a big thing. And then OG Anunoby, yes, he's a rookie, but he's a strong defender. Is that going to carry over into the playoffs as well? So all of those are question marks for me, even though I do think Toronto is an elite team. I just don't see them taking out Boston or Cleveland, in my opinion.
Interesting. Nice. Gonzo, how did Cleveland do today?
I mean, it looks real good on paper. I agree with James on that, but I still don't think they got what they really needed. What I think their biggest problem, if you look at most of their plays, when the defense is broken down, is that they needed rim protection.
Yep,
they were giving up a lot of buckets at the rim. I understand that they got scoring coming off the bench. You got Clarkson, you got Nance, you got Hood, you got George Hill. George Hill is also the most experienced out of all of them. I don't think the others have pretty much no real experience, playoff experience. Rodney Hood maybe just a little, but rim protection is one of those things, and I think they're just very thin with big guys. Like you got Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, and Kevin Love's hurt right now, and you got Larry Nance. Like, where is that rim protection coming from? Like, seriously, I mean, honestly, the trade propels them in the East. I think I've always said from jump it's going to be Cavs and Warriors anyway. I just think that, man, it's still not enough to beat Golden State. I'm sorry.
Hey, I think most people would agree. I think most people would agree with that. I actually really liked what they did today. And obviously we know what George Hill's going to do. He's going to be, veteran, like James said, 47% on the catch and shoot threes and all that good stuff. Good defensive player, so he's going to bolster that. Rodney Hood, another guy, athletic wings, can defend a little, create, make shots. I think that's going to help them getting younger.
My one thing I worry about a little bit is that Rodney Hood, as good as he is, offensively, he's kind of inconsistent, but he's been kind of like the weak link on defense in Utah.
Yes.
As good as the Utah defense has been, he hasn't been. I was thinking that same thing. Oh, he's long, he's versatile, he could be a good defender. He's not a very good defender. So
I think that's just effort, or you know how some young guys are. Like the focus isn't there on that end of the floor.
Well, Hood's been in the league now, like I want to say 4 or 5 years now. He's not
4. I think this is 4 now.
Is this 4? Because he's a restricted free agent.
This is 4.
Is that right?
Yeah, okay. This is 4. Yeah, this is 4. Because he
came
in with Dermott and those guys.
And another issue I have is that, like, all right, so Crowder was a good defender in Boston. Avery Bradley, good defender in Boston. They come out of Boston, they go to systems where they're there's not a good system around them, and everything changes because a good defender by himself is like a guy trying to herd cats. It doesn't matter how good of the individual defender, if your team defense around you, you're gonna look bad. Yes. So I'm wondering if it's the same thing now. George Hill's a good defender, but Jordan Clarkson's not. Rodney Hood's not. I mean, the guys that other guys in Cleveland aren't really. So I wonder how this is going to work.
It's going to be interesting. You hope. I guess the hope is, now these guys, obviously George Hill going from, maybe the worst franchise once again in professional sports, the Kings. He comes to the Cavs. Rodney Hood's coming to, maybe that, playing with LeBron. Hopefully, maybe you'll see Hood step it up a little bit defensively, because I think we would all agree the ability is there. He's athletic. He can move his feet. He should be an average defender at best, right? At best, he should be an average defender.
I agree.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I think maybe that helps. Now, Larry Nance is the guy. I really like Nance. I think he's an underrated guy. Going to bring a ton of energy for them. Solid defender. Not elite, not great, but, will play a little defense for you. I really like him. Can make a little 15-foot outside shot. So that, I guess, will help a little bit, because, Thompson's not going to do any of that. So, you got to make 15-foot jumpers. Maybe he'll make 1 out of 5 in a game. I don't know. But I like Larry. I really like Larry Nance for this team.
The other key – oh, go ahead, James.
No, go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say the other key is you have to look at a guy like Jordan Clarkson. Questions surrounding him, because is he a gunner that puts up stats on bad teams?
Yes.
Or is he going to be able to contribute on a championship team in a effective role scoring the ball? That's going to be another big key for me.
That's a very fair question. I actually think he's going to be good. Like, I listened to the podcast you did earlier with Keith and Khan, is it?
Yeah.
I actually am with Khan on Jordan Clarkson. I actually think he's going to be pretty good for them. Call me crazy. I think he's going to be good. I don't think he's going to be, the greatest player ever, but I think he's going to be a really good 6-man for them. I don't know why.
I'm with Pete, man. I'm with Pete. I have a feeling that Jordan Clarkson might be a little bit of a looter in the riot. The best looter in the riot, right?
So you think he may be just a little overrated?
Well, that's what the best looter in the riot, right? He's going to compile a lot of points and stuff, and you're going to take a lot of losses. I say that, but while the Lakers have actually, they've won a few games lately, right? They've I think, I don't know, it was like 8 out of the last 12 or something.
Yeah.
They've like, and he's played well. He's played well. So I don't know, man. This is going to be the test of that, right? Because like Pete said, there's a lot of guys who put up big numbers, and then on bad teams, they go to good teams. They're like, all right, do what you did in the bad team, and it just doesn't work like that.
Monte Ellis.
Exactly.
I'm not a big Monte Ellis guy. He was a good player, but let's go now to what the Cavs shipped out. So we'll start with obviously we'll go to LA now, and I'm going to go to you, Gonzo. So LA, they get back Isaiah Thomas, Channing Frye, and the Cleveland Cavaliers first-round pick this year. Do you how does this work out for the Lakers on their side of things?
I think it's a smart move for them due to the fact that they know they're probably not going to make the playoffs this year, and they're looking forward to the future. I mean, they're looking forward towards free agency either this year or, from what I heard the other day, I think it's 2019's free agency.
Well, it could change, because also with what they did, you stretch Luol Deng out. They're going to have 2 max salary spots for this year. So that, could change some things now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a good thing for them. I mean, to get rid of those contracts, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of upset with the Lakers. I'm one of those people that believe that the Lakers and the Knicks should always be in the playoffs, because of the history. I was angry with the Lonzo Ball draft pick. Like that irritated me the most. So I'm not anticipating anything happening with the Lakers.
So Gonzo, are you not a big Lonzo Ball fan?
No, I'm not a Lonzo Ball fan.
Oh wow! See, I'm the opposite.
I think James is right there with you, Gonzo.
I don't think he's terrible. I think he's okay, but like everybody keeps saying he's like Jason Kidd. I don't see it, because I think Jason Kidd was a better defender. Maybe.
Also, Jason Kidd was a tank. Even when as a rookie, he was a bowling ball with legs.
Right. I don't think that's a fair comparison as far as comparing Jason Kidd there. But I think with Lonzo, the key is going to be getting players that are able to consistently knock down shots, especially from the perimeter. That's going to help him. Once they can actually work with him and change a little bit of the mechanics with his shot, I think that'll be a big thing, because confident or not, if you have that type of form that takes that long to get a shot off, you're going to struggle. And then lastly, I mean, he's got to put on like a bunch of, lean muscle mass to be able to hold up as far as his body goes when he takes contact, because we've all seen whenever Lonzo does get to the rim, he either overcompensates because he thinks he's going to get, bumped. So he tries to, make a little extra move and he misses a layup, or he does get bumped and he goes flying because, he can't absorb any kind of contact.
Mm-hmm.
And his type of game at UCLA, where he's pulling up 35 feet, is not going to work in the NBA. So he's got to find other ways to refine his game. But as far as point guard instincts, I think he's already, excelling in the sense that of his court vision and his passing. And I think if they can fill those, 2 max slots, say you get a LeBron and a Paul George, or Paul George and DeAndre Jordan, then I think you're okay and you're on the way. I don't think you should max DeAndre Jordan. I'm just saying that, if, push games to shove, maybe on a 2-year deal, not like a gigantic 5-year deal or anything like that. But
so, Pete, do you think he can be the best player on a champion contender?
No.
Do you
Lonzo Ball? No.
Do you think he can be the second best player on a contender?
I would give him third to fourth best.
So do you think? And so I keep hearing this. My man Adam Martes, he does the Bob Pod with me. He's the same way. He's like, he's not. They say he's not, a top 2 or 3 player, but he makes your best players better. Right. Is that worth drafting number 2? When guys like there were obviously guys who have like Dennis Smith Jr. and now hindsight of course, but Donovan Mitchell there were guys on the table who like you would say, all right, this guy could be, a primetime scorer and the second best player on a contender.
I think drafting him second for what he is, as far as a facilitator and things like that, is what they need, because their long-term plan is to get a couple stars to build around. Had you taken a Dennis Smith Jr., which is, I like Dennis Smith Jr. He's a score-first guard. Yes, he can pass a little bit, but that's not his primary.
But what's Curry? What's Steph Curry?
Yeah, but Steph Curry's an elite shooter, so that's a little bit different.
But what's Russ? The Russ not like score first guards is where it's at. If you're
Russ will never win a championship. I'm going to say that now.
I honestly, I kind of with Pete. I don't hate Russell Westbrook.
I don't either, but I don't think he's going to be the leader of a team that will win a championship. I think he's
the second best player. Okay, second best player. All right, it's fine.
But I don't think he could be the leader on a team. Steph could be the, obviously leader of a team.
Best player you can win a championship if he's your best player.
Right.
They've done it.
I think Donovan Mitchell has the potential to be the best player on his team that could take a team, really far, maybe even championship level, depending on who's around him. Now, is he an elite passer? No. But I think his defensive instincts and his athleticism and scoring potential, kind of negate the need for passing. Mm-hmm. Plus, you have a guy like Ricky Rubio, which we all know that's his best attribute there to kind of obviously help the backcourt assist numbers. But with Lonzo, I'm okay with him being a fourth option. If your first option is LeBron, your second option is Paul George.
Yeah, but so you don't get those guys. Now you have Lonzo. This pick has been always so weird to me.
I see where James is going when he asked about would you take him second for what he's the third or fourth best player on a championship team. I think do you take him second? Maybe depending on like who's around him. Is he worth
we knew who was around.
That's what I would. Yeah, exactly.
My thing is if you strike out in LeBron, you strike out Paul George, and you end up with, let's just hypothetically say, you end up with Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan. I think that's a loss. I think you have to.
I don't even know why you'd bring in Chris Paul.
I'm just throwing that out there, just as a what if. Like if those are the two guys that you end up max contracts, then I think that you have to look at. You just wasted that Lonzo pick.
Yes, you did. Why would you, if you have Lonzo? Why would you bring in Chris Paul? That would make no sense to me.
Yeah, he's just saying. I get it, but like,
yeah, I know. Yeah,
if you're not getting top tier talent that is going to be,
that's why I think that's why you wait because who would be a perfect guy like a Klay Thompson in 2019 would be perfect for Lonzo Ball. I think he would.
Would he? For me, I struggle with Klay Thompson even being a second option. I think he's a perfect third option, but I don't think he's a second option. I just don't.
Man, I don't know.
I would say third option. That's why he's, third, fourth option now, like depending on how you view Draymond Green.
It's just insane to me that they drafted a guy that you specifically need like a top 5 player in the game to play with.
Yeah, I see your point, and you have obviously a very valid point, but I think they were thinking all right, well, we've got this end game of we're going to get superstars and kind of go from there.
And I think what we're failing to, we haven't mentioned yet, he's from Los Angeles. He's a huge name. It's the Lakers. I mean, I think that was definitely part of it. Right?
I mean, there was pressure there. And, regardless of what is out there, LiAngelo is going to be a Laker, LaMelo is going to be a Laker, it's not going to happen. Like, there's no way in the world that's going to happen. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm comfortable in saying I would not call Lonzo, because many people are already saying, well, I think long-term he's going to be a bust for being the second pick. I think you have to be comfortable with Lonzo averaging, 8 rebounds, 10, 11 assists, and 11, 12 points. I mean, that's where you're going to have to be comfortable.
If he were to do that, that's not a bust.
That's what I'm saying. You have to be comfortable with that. Now, many people view that as, well, you're going to have Donovan Mitchell putting up 26 points a game, 24, 26 points a game, 5, 6 rebounds, 3, 4 assists.
Yeah, Mitch is going to be a 25-5-5 guy probably.
Right. That's, so then if you compare it in that context, then you're going to say, okay, well, Mitchell's the better player. But for me, how I view it is all about the situation. And I usually give it 3 years before I kind of critique any player, because we've seen in the past with some players are just slow starters and then turn it around, or they get moved elsewhere and their career flourishes.
I mean, look at a guy like Tobias Harris. His first couple years, he wasn't very good, and I mean, look, he's borderline all-star now. So
he had Scott Skiles as a coach, so I kind of attribute that.
Yeah, exactly. But I gotta ask you this. Go ahead, James.
I don't think, I keep saying this, and people think I'm a Lonzo hater. No, he's a fine player. He's going to be a very good starting point guard. Right. He might probably never be an all-star in the West, and that's fine because the West is really deep.
Well, he might be an all-star if he gets in as a starter.
I don't.
He won't. No, he won't.
I mean, even that. Look, wasn't he top 5 or 6 in fan voting this year?
Yeah, but that's only a percentage of it. The coaches aren't going to vote him in, and the players aren't going to vote him in.
So again, that's fine. Even if he's a smattering of all-stars throughout his career, that's fine.
Right.
Like everything we just said, man. I mean, sure, 12, 8, and 8 is really good. 12, 9, 8 is really good. But just
my question to you guys is, okay, they get Isaiah Thomas in the trade. Obviously, Isaiah Thomas is 70% at best. Is as far as the hip injury,
he's statistically been one of the worst players in the NBA.
How does he fare the rest of the season with LA, and what does this do to his market as far as free agency, especially with all the money dried up?
Hey, James, you're the Celtics guy. You take it.
So I feel bad for Isaiah, right? I think this is, we all keep asking the question, have you ever seen a player go from universally, everybody's pulling for him. Poor guy, he got traded. He played through his some tragedy and Boston just dumped him. We're pulling for him. And in 15 games, he went from that to get him out of here. I can't think of any player that the whole perception changed on so fast. He can play beside Lonzo easily, right? Because it does, guard is guard. Lonzo will be the main ball handler, whatever. Isaiah is going to play himself back into shape and hopefully be back, 85, 90% of who he is. But Pete brings a great point up. The money's just gone. And no one's going to, anyone with the max slot is not going to be ready to throw it at Isaiah Thomas.
Nope.
So let's say once all the big hitters are gone, maybe I'm trying to think what team will have money to say, all right, let's get Isaiah on a 1-year deal and give him $25 million. I don't know what team it is. Nope. I don't think any team, because I think only 6 teams really have caps, like really good cap space.
Right. Essentially, he's lost $100 million in 15 games.
I'm actually with Dave Dufour. He said it today with Coach Nick. I think I'm with Dave. I think he has to take a 1-year deal for about $2-3 million. Kind of what Tyreek Evans does to prove himself. I think he's in that boat.
But you know what's crazy about that? It's like the guy was 5th in MVP voting.
That's what's crazy. Yeah. But remember, he's the hip injury. I think it's more so the injury.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's back.
And he has to be in the right system for his type of game too, to where he's going to have his hands on the ball, consistently majority of the time, and he's going to look to be a gunner. Like he said it himself in the interview, like, why did Cleveland bring me here? They knew what they were getting.
Exactly.
That I was going to score. So I don't blame Isaiah Thomas for that, because he did what he's supposed to do, come in and try to get buckets. Now, his will, just based on, playing through the playoffs on that hip injury, he's going to want to play. So him saying, okay, I'm 70, 75%, I'm going to give it a go because that's just the type of player he is. Now, Cleveland's fault is they knew they already had LeBron, that, Isaiah Thomas is a very boisterous type player. So if he, sees something, he's going to call it out. Now, that just happened to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Then you throw in Dwayne Wade kind of being outspoken. So you got too many guys that are outspoken in the locker room. So it caused a lot of problems.
You got too many Chiefs, not enough Indians.
Right. Mm-hmm. I wonder, as far as the Lakers go, Luke Walton's not somebody that really seems like he commands the team very well. How that's going to blend with Isaiah Thomas and just his personality and presence in the locker room, and how the overall basically presence of Isaiah Thomas is going to affect the rest of the team, whether it be Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, some of those young guys. But Gonzo, we hadn't heard from you, so I'm going to go to you.
Oh yeah, Gonzo.
I didn't want to leave you out.
You there, Gonzo?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Isaiah Thomas with the Lakers. What do you think?
I think it's unfortunate. The thing is, Boston was a good fit for him, but a better trade became available. You got a championship pedigree player. I mean, who wouldn't take that trade? I mean, you're getting Kyrie Irving, somebody who's proven. He does just about everything you can do. He's a better defender than you are. So I understand the reason why Boston pulled the plug on that trade. Well, not pulled the plug, but executed that trade. Here's the problem. And it's no criticism towards LeBron, but I've been saying this for so long, and I'm finally starting to get people to realize this. When you play with LeBron, you don't technically get better. You don't. Like, the only person LeBron has really made better is Boobie Gibson. Like, Donyell Marshall could shoot threes before LeBron. Ricky Davis could score 20 before LeBron. Like, everybody could do all of this stuff before LeBron. Larry Hughes was good before he got to LeBron. So LeBron doesn't make people better. Please, we have to stop saying that, because he does not make people better. He's not Magic Johnson where he elevates people's games. No, he doesn't. It's all about LeBron James. The problem is he's ball dominant. LeBron's ball dominant. So since LeBron has to hold the ball all the time, he's not able to beat Isaiah Thomas. So that's thrown out of the window. So you just pretty much cut his 20, almost 30 points a game in half to 15 now. And look, guess what he's averaging? 14.7. So that's exactly what happens. You take the ball from him, he's going to score a lot less. That's what he does. He's primarily a scoring point guard. Not to mention, he's a bad defender. Probably one of the worst defenders in the league.
Well, statistically, he's been the worst this year. But yes, I know I'm going to use this term that James, I know most of us hate, small sample size, but obviously the injury. But he has been very bad on that end of the floor.
Jesus, the Lakers are 7-3 in their last 10.
Yep.
How did this happen?
I mean, collectively playing as a unit, and Josh Hart has stepped up huge. And I think if you look at overall, I mean, they have KCP there. Obviously, he's on a 1-year deal. So they're going to basically look at, say you get Paul George and you get LeBron. So then you throw out Lonzo, George, LeBron, Ingram, and then, take your pick on who's at center, because I don't think Brook Lopez is brought back. But I just don't. I think he's okay.
Or they can sign Papa Giannis when he gets bought out.
He's a bum.
Yeah,
they already waived him, right? He's waived.
He's waived. Yeah, they did.
Dude, the Lakers are 11-4 in their last 15. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, it's been a collective effort. I'll say that. And the thing about it is now you bring Isaiah in, and he's going to take a lot of shots, because I don't think Lonzo's still going to be back for a little bit, because they want to make sure his knee injury heals all the way. So really, you're looking at Ingram, a lot of Ingram kind of ISOing, to score, try to get to the rim. And then, you got Isaiah, chucking a lot of threes. So we'll see how the change is. And it'll be interesting to see Luke Walton, because I don't know that he's really a coach that if Isaiah can get in his face and kind of talk back, he's one to stand up for himself.
This may be a dumb question, and anybody can take this when I ask it. So we saw what Isaiah did last year, 5th in MVP vote. He was fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I don't think he's that good of a player, like to where he's going to be a top 5 perennial MVP guy every year. I think most people would agree, but I don't think he's as bad as what we're seeing right now.
No, he's not 100%.
No, he's just not healthy. Like,
do you think he's somewhere between what we saw last year and kind of what we got in Phoenix and Sacramento, somewhere in between there?
I mean, I think he's a consistent 22, 24 point, scorer. The question's going to be is he ever?
Is he a starter?
Absolutely, he's a starter if fully healthy. The question's going to be, do you have enough collective team defense to hide his deficiencies?
And that's why
he's such a bad defender.
That's why I ask if he's a starter. Is because of the defensive, and most of it is because of the size. We know he's going to give effort and stuff like that, but he plays with a chip on his shoulder, which I like. But is he a starter on teams who just aren't great defensively? But that's my question, because he seems to thrive in that 6.
If you're throwing in the caveats, then of course, I mean, if a team without defense, you're going to struggle more with Isaiah as your point guard. But I mean, again, a guy who can give you 20 to 25 a night. It seems like you should be able to make that work. But the height and the size and the defense is a real issue. So I get it. So when he's healthy again, I guess we have to see. My thing is, it's like Pandora's box. Once you let him out, the guy was top 5 in MVP. We all know the accolades. One of the best scoring seasons the Celtics ever had. How do you go back to him now? Okay, bro. Now you're going to go back and play 25 minutes and off the bench. You know what I mean? It's really hard.
Right.
It's really hard. It becomes about personality and ego. And we know that he has a chip on his shoulder. We know he thinks very highly of himself. We know he's scrapped for everything. How you tell that guy, hey, man, I know you hated to come off the bench in Sacramento. You hated to come off the bench in Phoenix.
We need you to come back off the bench.
You know what I mean? It's really tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that would be tough for any player coming in from that scenario. So
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get to this too. Another thing with Cleveland, they send out Dwayne Wade. He goes to Miami for a second. Is it a 2024 pick, Pete? Is that what I saw?
It's a heavily protected second rounder, right?
Right.
Yeah. I thought I saw 2024,
which is basically, as they say, a fake. Fake.
It's nothing.
They basically gave him to Miami.
Right, which is to me the right thing to do because he's going to be embraced, by the Heat.
Does he help him though? What does he do for him?
Yeah, but so many injuries in the backcourt. I mean, Tyler Johnson was in and out of the lineup, injuries. You've got Waiters out for, the year, having surgery. So, I mean, I think not night in, night out, he's not going to be able to help them. But I believe they do make the playoffs. But what if we see a Cleveland-Miami series? Obviously, Cleveland's going to take Miami out, but that would be, an interesting series. Kind of seeing if Wade can turn it on then, because that's the important thing. Wade's going to want to be healthy, full strength to give a good, first round series. Maybe even if they get lucky in a matchup, maybe even make it to the second round, depending on who they face.
Okay, I got a question for you guys.
Yes.
I know they say they talked, like LeBron talked to Wade before they sent him back to Miami, right? They this was like an understood mutual kind of thing. Cool.
Right.
If Cleveland really believes, especially with all these other moves, that they have a chance to compete for a championship, wouldn't Dwayne Wade be great there in a limited role? And then again, like you said, in the playoffs, you give him more responsibility. Like, I don't understand how, as a basketball decision, that made a lot of sense.
I think on the flip side of it, I think maybe Wade wasn't willing to accept that kind of role, so they felt like they had to move him. I think if Wade came in and said, all right, I'll play 18 minutes a night, I'll give you everything I have for 18 minutes, I think then that wouldn't be a problem. I don't think that Wade's ego can – it's kind of like that Derrick Rose scenario. Rose can't accept being a backup and, basically mentally make it through a season. I think Wade's ego of – okay, I've always been the star player on the team. I don't really want to take this reduced role, behind Rodney Hood or Kyle Korver or whatever and play this limited minutes. I would rather still be in a somewhat, relatively substantial role.
That's crazy because you know what? It's like you would think when the goal is a championship that, wow.
You would think.
Ego's a mother.
Yeah. And
that's true. Hey, but you know what? I don't know if you listened to it, James. Dave, once again, I'm going to go back to Dave before and Coach Nick. I don't know. I think it may have been Dave who was saying it. Like maybe this was Cleveland. Like it was the front office saying, you know what, LeBron, you're not going to dictate. Maybe LeBron wanted him there. You're not going to dictate how we're going to run things. We're shipping Wade out.
I don't think so because we remember Wade had those problems with Pat Riley and the Heat. Mm-hmm. And they said they kind of him and Riley reconciled at the funeral of was it Wade's ex-agent?
Yeah,
right. So that's
right.
I don't think this would have happened so quickly and smoothly if it was that. You know, it was just
And the other side of that, why would they make all these moves to try to basically appease LeBron James essentially
at the same time trying to say screw you.
I just don't think that's accurate.
You didn't say this with Cleveland. One thing they did do that I think if LeBron leaves, I mean, you still have Kevin Love. If you bring back Rodney Hood, you know George Hill will be there. You've got an okay team. You don't have just a horrible team going forward, plus the Brooklyn pick. So I think, you know, I know we didn't touch on that, but they're set up decently going forward, even if LeBron leaves, to where they're not just going to be bottom feeders.
But see, I'm not sold on – I mean, if you're potentially – say LeBron leaves and you don't get anything for him. So you've got Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love. You basically slot in, say, Rodney Hood, J.R. Smith at the 2, and then you've got George Hill at point guard.
Well, plus you got the Brooklyn pick. That's what I'm saying. Maybe you get Mo Bamba. It turns into like Bagley from Duke, or you know
that they're not going to be instant.
Well, I know, but I mean,
that's
what I'm saying going forward. But I mean, they'll play and they'll help.
Essentially, Kevin Love is your first option again. That's not going to get you anywhere. That you're going to be like 6 to 9 in the East.
No, that's what I'm saying. They could be a playoff team still.
Potentially,
I mean,
it won't be as bad as when he left the first time.
I mean, is that what you want, though?
Yeah, that's not.
No, obviously not. That's not what you want. But
I mean, I'm not saying like it. I'd rather just scrap it all and start over again.
I mean, my thing is if you know 100% LeBron's leaving, the least he could do is kind of go the Chris Paul route, where it's like, hey, I'm out. I'm giving you the courtesy,
sign and trade or something.
Right, I'm gone, so you can try to get something. Now they're obviously not going to get, you know, a superstar talent back, but if you can get 1 or 2 decent, you know, a really good starter and a decent rotation guy with it, and maybe a future first back, then you know you salvage something. It's not going to make it, you know, oh, we got equal value for LeBron, because you're never going to get that. But you know, at the same time, it's something to salvage. If he's gone tomorrow, then I don't have faith that, you know, the Cavaliers would even keep Kevin Love. I think they would move him. Potentially try to move off of George Hill's contract, you know, things like that. And then they would try to go, you know, the young player route. But I mean, ultimately, you know, the Lakers have been thrown out as a LeBron destination. Other than the Lakers, I don't really know where he would potentially go if he doesn't go back to Cleveland.
A lot of people say Philly. A lot of people are high on Philly.
I'm just not sold. I'm not sold on him going.
I don't, man. That's where I know it sounds crazy, but man, that's where I mean, if he leaves and he stays East, I think what other team would he go to? Like Philly makes to me is where I think he goes if he leaves and stays in the East. I don't see where else he would go.
I just don't. I think if he goes, he goes west, and I mean it's going to be the.
Why would he go west?
I mean,
the path to the finals becomes infinitely harder if he goes west.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there. I mean, ultimately, I think he stays with Cleveland. But I mean, if he does, I think it's the Lakers. I don't know why, but I just.
Well, I mean, if you bring in Paul George, that helps. If you bring him in as well, that would help. It helps. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps, but
just him and Gilbert's relationship is so bad, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it can go any way.
As long as he stays away from Boston, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Did you see what Stephen A. Smith said?
Mm-mm.
He said that Dan Gilbert wants LeBron out of there. He's sick and tired of being held hostage. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but see these reports.
Then they make the move they made today. Yeah,
it's like Chris Haynes came out and said, "Well, LeBron's talking about going to the Warriors." Like, come on, you know that's going to get clickbait.
Hold on, Toll. Let's clarify. That's not quite what he said.
Okay.
He just I just want to make sure we get it right because Haynes is my guy, and it was a silly.
Right.
No, it was a silly article. I don't
Right.
know how it came about. It was basically saying if all these things happen and they get the cap space, which is almost impossible,
Right.
LeBron would take a meeting. Which who cares? Who
Right.
like why would you even bring that up? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm getting. Like, why would you throw that story out there at all? Like,
you know why? I'm gonna tell you exactly why. This is a case of the media creating its own story because guess what ESPN did all day long for 2 or 3 days? They ran with it.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying Chris Haynes did it on purpose. Haynes, he seems like a really knowledgeable, good, like tight.
And he's credible.
But guess what? Yeah, that's what somebody came to him and told him, "Hey, man, guess what? Hey,
right.
I got the word. I can't. Don't use my name.
League sources, right?
If the Warriors came knocking, LeBron would take a meeting, and he has to report it. He can't just. That's stupid. So and it's dumb. It was all stupid. I hated that. That was all. That pissed me off.
Right, because we all know LeBron's not going to Golden State,
and we all every article was basically saying, and every every ESPN segment on it was saying, "This is crazy. This will never happen." Right? Come on, guys.
Why would ESPN, knowing that it's not going to happen? Why the hell would they even run with it?
I mean, it got tons of views, so
exactly.
And it got people chatting, just like LeVar Ball gets people chatting every time.
Essentially, what it was a giant piece of clickbait.
Hey man, I want to say real quick, I got to roll. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
All the listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. Check me out at Snotty Dripping on Twitter and check out B-Ball Breakdown.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Sir. Good job, man. Yes, sir. Hey, Gonzo, we got to go to you on Dwayne Wade to Miami. Do you think is he going to help them at all?
I guess since Deion Waiters is injured, I think he possibly could give him maybe 10 or 12 points off the bench, but I'm not really at this point. I'm no longer expecting too much from Dwayne Wade. He's done his service for Miami. I mean, he's got them 3 championships. I mean, he brought them their first one and was the Finals MVP. So it's not much more that he owes them. I think that it's a good finishing touch on a good career. I mean, he's going
nostalgic,
going back to his he's going back to his home team. I mean, he's
still got a little bit left in the tank.
And
just a little bit.
Very little. Yeah, I mean, right now he might have a few drops of gas, but it's almost fumes.
Leave it Gonzo.
I know,
it's
right?
almost fumes at this point.
I mean, I feel like he could contribute if you give him 4 solid games come playoff time. I think that's worth it, bringing him back. I don't think you can really rely on him, nor will he step into a large, substantial role for the regular season. Why would he?
He'll play, though.
He'll play, but I don't think obviously he's not going to be a focal point to the offense. I mean, Goran Dragic's an all-star.
I mean, there are people who said Wade was a contender for 6th man of the year, So, I mean, can he go to Cleveland and do some things for him, 12 points a game off the bench? I mean, you never know. And plus, he knows Spo. He's been in the system, so he gets it.
Right.
So I think it's gonna be fun. It's a good feel good story seeing Wade go back to Miami. But I think this is a good chance to get into what the Nuggets, the Knicks, and it was the Nuggets, the Knicks, and the Mavericks. So the trade is Doug McDermott goes to Dallas, Devin Harris goes to Denver, Emmanuel Mudiay goes to the Knicks. Pete, what the hell are the Knicks doing?
All right, so I did the NBA front office podcast with Keith Smith and Connorell earlier. I'm gonna shamelessly plug that. We
plugged it last week.
Keith and Con just kind of, because we did it live, they kind of looked at me like I was crazy when I said Mudiay, is going to have a decent turnaround. Now, do I think that Mudiay is going to be like some kind of all-star resurgence and be a franchise cornerstone, anything like that? No. I just think that he can salvage a little bit of his career in New York. I think right now he's obviously going to be ahead of what Trey Burke can do. I think Trey Burke's just an undersized scorer. I think he's shown inconsistency throughout his career.
Real quick question. We know they're in tank mode now. We'll get to Porzingis after this. That's going to be our segue to Porzingis, and that'll close us out. They're in tank mode, obviously, the rest of the year.
Right.
is Frank going to be in the starting lineup, or is it going to be Moutier and then Frank comes off the bench? How's that going to work?
I think what you'll see, Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to go to the 3. He'll start the rest of the season at the 3 because McDermott's gone. Obviously, Porzingis is gone, so Beasley will slide into power forward. You've got Courtney Lee at the 2. I could see a scenario where you have Ntilikina, kind of playing off the ball like he did in France. Moutier can also play off the ball because he obviously is not the greatest defender. He's not the greatest passer. But
he's
think
making shots. Isn't he like 37% threes this year?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get to. The potential of him improving, with a different role in New York is there. And for me, right now, I would say Ntilikina is probably your, third best point guard. However you value Trey Burke. I think right now, Moutier and Jerry Jack are ahead of Ntilikina. Now, long term, Ntilikina's defensive prowess is really good. Offensively, I don't know that he's going to be anywhere better than what Emmanuel Moutier is right now. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm just saying I just don't like the way he plays right now. I don't envision him being much better than Emmanuel Moutier. Offensively,
he's not exactly an all NBA offensive player,
right? As far as scoring the ball, I don't think he's going to be,
he does
much
have
better.
Pretty good mechanics on his jump shot, though.
I just don't think he's ever going to be an elite alpha. Like, okay, I'm going to put up 16 to 18 a game, whatever. And I think he's going to be more of, okay, I like to facilitate a little bit. I can defend, the best backcourt player, things like that.
What you said, you've got him as the third point guard. We obviously know the goal now is to lose games.
Right.
So you got to play him over Jarrett Jack then.
I mean, you play him. I think you play him once we get through the All-Star break. I think you start ramping up his minutes. You have to. You have nothing to go for. Porzingis is out probably until February, March, maybe even all of next season, depending on how his rehab progresses. So what else do you have there as your cornerstone? You overpaid for Tim Hardaway Jr. What else is a young talent on that team? You have Damian Dotson. I mean, obviously he's a decent second rounder, but he hasn't shown much.
The only two young pieces you really have is now Moutier and Ntilikina.
Right. So really you're kind of building from scratch. You still have to find some way to get off of Noah's contract. So that's another kind of block there. You've got guys like Kyle O'Quinn that should have been moved. Courtney Lee should have been moved. Mm-hmm. You could have got younger pieces there. Like, just say, for example, somehow they could have got a piece like Mario Hezonja or somebody to develop, on the perimeter that you could have given substantial minutes to.
You know what's funny? You could have shipped out an older guy like, Courtney Lee, O'Quinn. Who do they ship out? A young piece in Hernan Gomez.
Yeah, I think with Hernan Gomez, I think he was just so dissatisfied with, his role because basically he started a bunch of games last year, did well, and then he got passed over by Kyle O'Quinn this season, and then Cantor comes in, and Cantor's dominant, basically double-double, and then you also have Joakim Noah there where he's disgruntled. So I think all around it's a mixed bag in New York, and I think they really, really have to get creative moving forward because that contract that they give Tim Hardaway Jr. is still bad. I think he, has shown flashes this season, but obviously not enough to build up to that contract.
And in no way is Pete saying Hardaway's a bad player. He's a good player, just not worth the money.
Just that contract is a lot for a, marginal average player. Like, I mean, he's not a star. And he's not a bad player, so he's in between.
Yeah.
So he's an average NBA player.
He's going to be a volume shooter, get 17, 18 points a game on a lot of shots.
I think for me, Moutier is the best asset out of the three in the trade. Now I like, Doug McDermott, and I think Rick Carlisle can get a lot out of McDermott and see what, is there. Dirk can help him with shooting.
And he teams up with his old high school teammate, Harrison Barnes.
Right. But I don't think that you're ever going to see Doug McDermott be more than he is right now. Like, he's just a role player that's a shooter in situations. And then Devin Harris for the Nuggets gives them veteran, point guard leadership, and that's about it.
Yeah. Gonzo, where are you at with Moutier to the Knicks?
If I'm not mistaken, I think that the Knicks wanted Moutier a while ago.
Yeah, in the draft they wanted him.
Yeah, I think they kind of wanted Moutier anyway. I think honestly Denver was holding him back. And I think he got a point guard. I mean, I think he can actually fit in better than Frank Ntilikina.
Yep.
And Jared Jack. I think you can plug him in right now and play with the Porzingis when he's healthy. You can play him right away. Devin Harris to the Nuggets. I mean, that's a good veteran leadership to have on the team. But I mean, at this point, Devin Harris is towards the end of his career. And Doug McDermott is a good shooter for Dallas to have, but like I said, it's not much. But it's really I take it as a win for New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Moutier could be that classic change of scenery guy. Get the change of scenery, they thrive. Carves out a nice NBA career as a fringe starting point guard, really good backup. Could go either way for him. The shot seems to be coming along. Like I said earlier, I think they're around 37% from three. He's showing the potential to be a pretty. You leave him open, he's gonna knock it down. He's not Rondo bad, so that's a good sign. We all, everybody thought he could be John Wall-like defensively, so we'll see how that goes. I know that's what they said, but we'll see. Maybe the change of scenery will help. Obviously, everybody knows I'm a Doug McDermott guy, so I like the move for Dallas. And then with Denver, they get a good veteran in Devin Harris. He'll come in, solidify that backup unit with the point guard, solid, heady veteran. It'll help in Denver. But this has to segue us to our last topic. Kristaps Porzingis down with the torn ACL. He dunks on Antetokounmpo, lands wrong, boom. Gonzo. Is it going to get any worse for the Knicks? What does this do to him with Porzingis? Possibly, minimum he's back after the All-Star break next year, possibly out all year. What does this do to the Knicks, Gonzo, and their future?
This really hurts their playoff chances for, like I said, obviously this year, but especially next year. I'm questioning something. I hate when people say that players now are bigger, faster, and stronger, and the older players they wouldn't be able to stand to the athletes of today. And my honest opinion is that the athletes of today, they might be more big, they might be bigger and faster and maybe stronger. But guys, when I grew up watching like the Oakleys, the Karl Malones, the Charles Barkley, the Michael Jordans, they very seldomly had these injuries. Like they were tough and they had their bumps and bruises, but their bodies were way more durable. And I'm wondering, does this have something to do with guys playing these AAU, playing the AAU
I think that's part of it. I think that's definitely part of it. Because this is my thought on it. So now basically all these guys, most of these guys that come into the NBA, they're pretty much they're strictly basketball players coming up. They don't play baseball, they don't play football. You stick to one sport, they're training 24/7. And the body's just, I think it's the training regimen that we as I work with kids. And that's the one thing I told my cousin is like, you got to be careful, man. All this stuff. I mean, it could come up, it could bite him in the ass one day because these kids are working out extremely hard. The best players in high school, they're working out every single day. They're playing hundreds of games over the summer, AAU. It's crazy. They're just killing themselves. But they have to because they take a day off. Well, then the guy who's behind him, now he's taking your spot. So it's a tough spot for him. But I think that's what it is. The workout regimens is insane.
Yeah, I don't know with the Knicks because they have no cap room basically to do anything. So you're looking at, your core basically going into next year, Enes Kanter, Tim Hardaway Jr., an injured Kristaps Porzingis. That's basically
and Moutier.
Yeah, Ntilikina and Moutier. I mean, that's not inspiring, to be honest.
Well, you know what? I guess the silver lining would be this, right, Pete? They're going to get a better draft pick and another draft pick next year. That would be the silver lining in all of it, right?
I mean,
you get a draft pick if they draft the right player.
I mean, essentially, you could look at it that way. I mean, right now they're slotted 12th if the draft was today and it stayed in the exact order.
And they're going to fall back, though.
And now they're going to fall back. So they'll probably be, I would say, seven range, maybe even 7 to 9 range. So you're looking at, you could get a Mo Bamba, you could get a Jaren Jackson.
But you know what, though? Because it's rigged, like Gonzo says, they could end up number 1, right, Gonzo? Because it's rigged.
Absolutely. I mean, the way these trades have happened today, I think the NBA is rigged to help LeBron James be Golden State. Like seriously, seriously. I didn't even understand that. I'm looking like, well, Utah, they still have a chance at the AFC in the West at least.
I think they'll get it,
and I think they'll get it. I mean, honestly, I believe they'll get it too. And it's like you guys gave up Rodney Hood, like you gave up somebody who was a good player off your bench. I think he's averaging 16 points a game. You gave this guy away to Cleveland. Why?
Yeah, but see, I think with Rodney Hood, the motivation for Utah, they can't pay him in the offseason, so they wanted to move him now. And he was in and out of the lineup with injuries. The other side of that is they're kind of banking on Jay Crowder coming in, and then Royce O'Neal, who not many people know who that is, but he's played well in the rotation. So they're thinking, okay, well, we can get him on a cheap, we have him on a cheap deal. He's able to give us consistent minutes, and kind of help from there. I think right now all the focus is Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and now Rubio has been lights out scoring the ball lately as well.
You got Ingles who can shoot the 3.
Yeah, and then Ingles is there, playing a team role. And then now you add Crowder in there to go with Derek Favors. I think that's a pretty decent team. And I think, honestly, the Pelicans fall out of the playoff race. And then you
think the Jazz or the 8 seed end up squeaking in?
I think they squeak in. I mean, I like the Clippers, but I just don't know.
Bear stays healthy, though, right?
Yeah, it has to be. And Donovan Mitchell can't take a dip as far as the way he's been playing.
I honestly don't think he's going to take. I know he's had a couple of bad games, but we know he's been sick, and that's understandable.
Right.
I don't think it's because he's hit a wall. He's actually improved as the season's gone on. I don't see that changing.
Right.
I think he's going to be fine.
I wanted to touch on just a couple of the other moves, just run through them real fast, because I think they're key to a couple of teams that either have a real need or are a playoff team. So the Pistons get basically Jameer Nelson and James Ennis, respectively, from the Bulls, and the Grizzlies for basically nothing because they gave up Bryce Johnson and Willie Reed, who they got in the Blake Griffin trade. Ennis, I think, is a 3-and-D guy, will help the rotation. I think Detroit sneaks in the playoffs. I think Philly's going to be left out in the cold. I think Philly's just too inconsistent, and I love my 76ers.
You know what, though? Here's the thing, Pete. Philadelphia has the 29th easiest schedule, basically the second easiest schedule going forward.
I mean, that's great, but
that's going to help.
Big time. But at the end of the day, okay, Ben Simmons has been inconsistent at the end of games. You have no Markelle Fultz, who is your number 1 pick, so you have no legitimate scorer that you thought you might either have off the bench or as a starter. So really, you don't have a perimeter guy outside of JJ Redick that can consistently, knock down the 3.
Covington is nowhere to be found.
Covington's hit or miss, and then Joel Embiid. As much as I love Joel Embiid, and obviously he deserves to be an all-star,
turns it over too much. He gets out of control.
He can't be your go-to guy at the end of games. I just don't. I don't believe that he should be that type of player, night in, night out.
I think he can be.
I think he's still too rough around the edges.
He gets a little out of control and tries to do too much.
Right. And so I think they just don't know how to win at the end of the games. The moves that the Pistons have made, especially with Blake Griffin, if you can get a healthy Reggie Jackson back in there, I think they slide past Philly because it's a weak Eastern Conference from 5 to 9.
And with that said, how good has Blake Griffin been?
I mean, he's proven to be. I had the Clippers as the winners in the trade, and I regret that because I think that Griffin has had DeAndre Jordan in the past, so I really should have put more weight on him being able to play with a, kind of limited offensive player, like Andre Drummond, give that more weight. But I think honestly that just right now, the way that Stan Van Gundy, the position he's in is basically the front office role he has plus the coaching role. This has to be the year that Detroit sneaks in, or otherwise, he may step out of that front office role.
Yeah. Do you think he comes back if they don't make the playoffs? Is he the coach next year?
I think he's the coach. I don't know. Obviously, I think he moves out of the front office. I think he kind of does a Mike Budenholzer where he is no longer front office, but he's still able to run the team. Now, beyond next year, I don't know if he, would potentially be the coach there. We'll have to see. But it's all going to hinge on Reggie Jackson being healthy, because I don't think you can roll out Ish Smith as your starting point guard. No. I'm still scratching my head on the Langston Galloway signing. Have no clue why that happened, but
I think they liked his shooting.
Yeah, but he's just not done very much of anything.
Exactly.
That is actually a good segue to, speaking of shooting, a guy that cannot shoot very well. Elfrid Payton gets moved from the Magic to the Suns.
I like it.
Gonzo, what do you think of Elfrid Payton to the Suns?
I think it'll be real it could be very beneficial to Devin Booker, because you got a facilitator. There's one thing for sure is that Elfrid Payton is a good defender and he can pass. The only thing questionable about him is his shooting, and I think his shooting is bad because of his hair sometimes.
Yes. Hey, another plug for Dave DeFore and Coach Nick, because they said the same thing.
Like, oh my God! Like, did you see the video when he missed? He shot an air ball clearly because his hair got in his face.
His hair has made 4 highlight plays this year alone. So, I mean, that should tell you all you need to know. Like, I mean, if you're gonna have hair like that, tie it back in a ponytail or something. Like, do something.
His jump shot gets blocked by his hair.
Yeah, I think with the Suns, they're so injury riddled in the backcourt. I mean, Brandon Knight obviously has a cannon. Now he's released, but he was out for the season. Devin Booker in and out of the lineup with various injuries. Tyler Ulis is just too small to be a starting point guard. Potentially even a backup point guard. He might be best suited as like that third guard that you could throw in the backup role if needed. Just kind of energy guy. The thing for Peyton, being a restricted free agent, Orlando, the new front office didn't view him as a cornerstone to anything there. Gonzo perfectly said with his shooting, it's been streaky, all across his career. His defense isn't that great either. So it's going to be interesting to see what Jay Triano can get out of him, to get basically a 2-month, 2.5 month trial out of Elfrid Payton to see if they want to bring him back. If not,
it's worth it for a 2nd-round pick, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I mean, I thought they sold low. I thought maybe they, get something a little bit more, maybe a late, him,
maybe a late 1st-round pick.
Yeah, either that or even 2 high second round picks, something of that nature. For the Magic side of it, I like it because now it positions a guy like a Colin Sexton or Trae Young to kind of slide into.
That's what I think. I think they want Trae. I think Orlando wants Trae Young
into that role because they need a scorer. Because I like Aaron Gordon, but Aaron Gordon's never going to be a consistent, number one option scoring. Then you're relying on Evan Fournier, who they kind of dangled in talks here and there. I mean, that roster is just a mess. Bismack Biyombo needs to move. Like Nick Vucevic, when healthy, he can move somewhere. Like they just have a lot of bad fits on that team. So it'll be interesting to see.
So it's time to blow it up for Orlando for like the 5th time.
Yeah, but I think that with this new front office, I think they would set a clear direction and stick with it. It's just going to be a matter of what direction do they go in. Do they go into soft rebuild with a couple pieces gone, or do they fully blow it up?
I don't think you have to go into a
no, you don't. I don't think you do. I mean, they have Jonathan Isaac. He's been out all year with the ankle. So we'll see. They have. I mean, they have some pieces, that they can build upon. But for Phoenix, just take the trial, see what happens, see what you get out of Marquise Chris for the rest of the year, Dragan Bender, and Alfred Payton, and then of course Josh Jackson. See what you have there, and then
Josh Jackson has looked really good the last couple weeks.
And see, I'm still not
He's played well.
I'm not a huge fan of his, but I mean, I will give him props that he's played well after the 0-for-13 game. He's played relatively well. TJ Warren's still a good piece there. So they have some developmental pieces. It's just how fast are these guys going to rapidly develop into something rather than, a guy like who got moved today, Bruno Caboclo for Toronto. Like, are you always going to be a potential?
Yeah, Caboclo's now. He was 2 years away from doing. What is he now? 4 years away from being. Years away.
He's this summer going to be out of the NBA. I'm surprised the Kings didn't waive him.
They said he was the 94th best G League player this year.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I don't know really what Sacramento's kind of game plan with that trade was. Maybe to give Malachi Richardson a chance to go to a contending team.
Hey, you know what? I think once again they're back to being the worst franchise in professional sports because it was the Bulls, but the marketing that trade's worked out, so it's not the Bulls, it's the Sacramento Kings again. I cannot believe
I don't
they're awful. They're bad.
I don't buy that though. I think you got to look at a team like as well as the pieces are in Orlando. I think you got to look at Orlando's, kind of probably behind based on the talent and where they've ended up. Like, I think with Sacramento, their goal was, all right, let's sprinkle in some veterans to go with Fox, who's the future, Justin Jackson, who's the future, Harry Giles, who's the future. Like those. I don't even think they view Buddy Hield as the future. I think they are higher on Bogdanovich than they are on Hield.
I don't know why, because Bogdanovich, isn't he older than Hield?
Yeah, but I think that I think they might be. Are they the same age?
I thought Bogdanovich was 27 and Hield's 24.
I'll double check.
I could be wrong.
Let's see.
What's
Bogdanovich is 25.
Hield's 24, right? They're about the same age.
Right, that's what I thought. So I think Buddy Hield is just a gunner off the bench, and that's good for his role. Like, I think he can score off the bench. Like, that's where he should be. I just don't think that he's a starting caliber shooting guard. I think
he's a starting caliber shooting guard on a really bad team, right?
Even that, I mean, the Kings aren't good and he's not starting.
He should be. But Bogdanovich has really played more at the three for the most part.
Next year, because, however you look at Temple
they've been starting Temple at the 2.
Well, lately they've been starting Justin Jackson at the 3 again, and then Bogdanovich has shifted to the 2.
Yeah, with Bogdanovich, they've kind of mixed it up a little. Sometimes he's a 2,
right.
Sometimes he comes off the bench.
Right. I just can't get on board with Sacramento being the worst franchise again because
I'm not quite there. I'm close to giving them the crown back.
I give it to as bad as Orlando's been, and I'm no disrespect to any Orlando fans because I just think
it should probably go to the Knicks.
No, some of the stuff's not. You can't help. You can't help that. Yeah. Phil Jackson overpaid. Joakim Noah.
Well, you can because the owner because it's the franchise. It's not Phil Jackson. It's a franchise that counts.
Yeah, I guess you could look at James Dolan, but
it was the Bulls in the offseason, but the marketing that trade has worked out for them. Dunn has been fantastic. Marketing's great, and Zach LaVine good. So
right,
the Bulls may have won that trade.
Yeah, essentially they could have. I think
3 starters for 1.
Yeah, essentially, if Chris Dunn can come back healthy and play at the level he was, I think
he'll be fine. It was a tooth. He'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll see. Just like last thing, just real quick, Tyreke Evans didn't get moved.
No, I was going to bring that up. Is it because the asking price was just too high?
Yeah, Philly offered some, couple assets as far as like picks. But nobody was offering a first rounder for it.
I got to ask this. So they obviously we know last Wednesday they benched him because they said we're going to try to find a trading spot for you. Well, now they don't find a spot because they overvalued him. Now I don't think they overvalued him, but they overvalued him considering he's got an expiring contract. Nobody's going to give up the farm for him. knowing that he could bolt. So now, by them benching him, why would he want to go back to Memphis?
I'm going to flip that. Why wouldn't he? Because it's a contract year for him. It's already a limited market because people don't want to spend money. Why not put up good numbers and say, all right, I can get better than the mid-level exception?
I think they said the best they could offer him was like a qualifying offer, some kind of crazy. Like they couldn't really offer him. Well, I think he could get $10 million a year somewhere.
I mean, you're looking at basically, a good scoring guard off the bench. He's shown consistency from 3 now, which he didn't have early in his career. So I think that helps.
Yes.
Essentially, Boston was looking at him heavy as well. But, for Tyreek, it's just got to be the focus is play out the season, put up your numbers, be a good teammate.
So what's going to happen now is he'll sign with Golden State in the offseason for about $3 million a year and go win
I don't know about that. I mean,
and come off the bench.
You can look at the same thing for Atlanta because Bellinelli was as good as gone. Everybody pretty much had him as the lock of, being out of there. But I think, we kind of talked in the pre-show. I think you're going to see the buyout market be a little bit heavy. You got Joe Johnson. You've got, a guy like
Brian Mazeek's favorite player.
Oh, Derrick Rose. But Derrick Rose is going to get waived outright. Like there is no buyout for him. Like he'll just get waived.
He's going to be on the market though.
I mean, he's going to the Timberwolves. It's Timberwolves or bust for him because basically the only person that's going to put up with, kind of leaving the team is Tibbs, and Tibbs knows what he can get out of Derrick Rose. It's just going to be sad if Derrick Rose plays over Tyus Jones because I don't think he deserves it.
Thibodeau's trying to get the band back together again. Now all we need is Noah. And
Dang. I mean, get Noah, get Dang. Let's see if Carlos Boozer can come out of retirement.
Exactly.
Get trade. See if you can get Kyle Korver. See if you can get Keith Bogans. Just go for it all.
His entire bench is going to be that 2010-11 Bulls team. That'll be his bench.
It's crazy, but I think that, you can, if you're Derrick Rose, if you could, kind of step aside, with your ego and say, okay, I'm going to get a consistent 16 to 18 minutes a game. Mm-hmm. What can I do in the 16 to 18 minutes that's going to overall help my team? If he can look himself in the mirror and answer that question and confidently answer, okay, I can pass the ball a little bit more. I can use what athleticism I have left to get to penetrate to the rim. If I can't finish, at the rim, then I can kick it out to somebody on the perimeter and I can give all the effort I can give on defense.
Yes.
Then I think he'll be okay. But he's not going to want to do that. He's going to want to play his way.
Well, if anybody can get him to do it, I guess it would be Thibodeau.
I mean, the only other scenario I could have seen would be San Antonio, but they have too many point guards already.
Yeah. You know who else? Golden State.
No, Golden State has no need.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because, JaVale McGee was the laughing stock of the NBA. Look what he did in Golden State. I know different player,
different position too.
I know that, but I think if there were another team, it would be Golden State. Just the winning culture. He knows, look, man, I'm not, I may be Derrick Rose, but it's the Golden State Warriors. Hey, what do you want me to do? I want to get a ring.
See, I don't even think that his mindset is about getting a ring.
He wants to get paid again.
And I don't even think it's about getting paid. I just think he wants to be happy and contribute in the way that he's used to contributing, but he wants to play his way.
He wants to be the old Derrick Rose.
Right. And it's just not, I think he can show flashes of athleticism, but those days are gone. Who's really going to pay Derrick Rose in the offseason?
Nobody.
Honestly.
Nobody.
And
it's Minnesota or retirement.
Yeah. And it's just going to be interesting to see what happens, with Derrick Rose. And then you've got guys like Joe Johnson. Obviously with the Kings, he's not needed there. No. Same thing with his teammates in Kosta Koufos and Vince Carter.
Weren't the options for Johnson, from what I've seen, the insiders, it looks like it's Golden State, Boston, maybe Houston.
Yeah, those are the three, and I don't really know that. Does he legitimately help? Boston as far as a perimeter guy? Does he help? Golden State as a perimeter guy for his type of game.
Houston makes sense because he's played for D'Antoni.
Exactly. That's what I left Houston for last, because that's the only one that really would make sense, across the board. But then I would rather have Gerald Green, than
and
Joe
Houston,
Johnson.
Yeah, Houston has to make a roster. They have to clear a roster spot for him. So
Right.
I don't think they'll get rid of Gerald Green.
Right. And the other guy that he's actually personally asked to be released is Shabazz Muhammad, because Shabazz Muhammad came back on the, on the market. Basically, he thought, he was going to get paid by somebody. He didn't. So he came back to Minnesota. He hasn't played very much at all. He can absolutely score, obviously, coming off the bench. He doesn't defend. But I think there's teams around the league that would take a flyer on him, obviously. Mm-hmm. Vince Carter is another one. I've heard that, Toronto may take a flyer on him because it's basically going to be one of his last times. Every single player is going to be linked to Golden State. And that's the thing, that I just don't.
Have to be, because they're going to win a championship again.
Right. And you got guys like Tony Allen. If he's healthy, OKC is a lock.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion. I could see a guy like Zach Randolph maybe, but I wouldn't count on it.
Doesn't Golden State actually kind of make sense for a guy like Vince Carter to get a ring? The last thing he has to accomplish, just so he can get a ring.
Just because he can get a ring, but then
he can sign with Toronto in the offseason for a minimum and retire.
Yeah, but I think everybody wants to be in Golden State to win a ring.
That's what I'm saying.
I would be so happy if the NBA Finals ended up being the Boston Celtics versus the Houston Rockets. I would be ecstatic to see those two teams play each other.
You know why I don't want that to happen? Because I then have to hear it from every last one of my Houston Rockets friends. I don't want the Rockets in the finals for that reason.
Oh, man. No,
do you realize what Byron would do to me?
Yeah, but I feel like overall, I just want to see something different. Like, I think that Golden State has about 1.5 to 2.5.
They got 2 years left
of elite, or 1.5 to 2 years. I'm sorry, of elite play left with the collective unit that they have. After that, it's going to come down to, especially if they don't win the championship this year. Like, say Houston takes them out in the conference finals, and they don't win it. Like, they're going to have to look at Klay Thompson and say, all right, do we move you? Do we not move you? Like, where's some other ways we can shed, some payroll?
You move him and get some pieces back, because
right,
you're not going to move Durant. You're definitely not moving Curry.
And so ultimately, you're basically your kind of facilitator in a sense, and your defensive anchor is Draymond Green. You're not moving him.
No.
So you could move Klay for another scoring piece and a rim protector.
Maybe there's a market for Pachulia.
Yeah, and Pachulia's been awful. I just think that people have thrown out that OKC. I think you said it too. OKC is strong.
I think they're the best built to beat them.
And see,
it's not going to happen. It's not.
I just don't see that with the way that Westbrook's shot selection is. I think Westbrook is a hell of a player, and no disrespect to any OKC fans at all, but I just don't at the helm. I think Westbrook, kind of breaks down as far as, mentally with his shot selection late in key games.
And let's say it. We talked about it off air.
Right.
If Russell Westbrook is your best player, you're not winning a championship.
Right. And then at the same time, Carmelo Anthony, and I just don't know where he's going to be defensively, being able to help them, come elite games, especially playing a running gun game like Houston or Golden State. And then Paul George, as great as he's been, okay, you got Paul George and you got Westbrook for 96% of a game, but the last 4% of the game, it's bad shot selection
from Westbrook.
So I just don't see how they beat them.
I don't think they'll beat them. I think if you were to tell me if a team were to take them 6 games in a series, I think it'd be OKC before it'd be Houston. I actually think the Rockets are going to lose in 5 to Golden State, a good 5-game series, not like Golden State just pounds them. I think you're looking at it'd be a 5-game series where 3 of the games go down to the wire.
See, I don't know. I think Chris Paul makes a difference. I think you've got a different Clint Capella this year. I think that, James Harden kind of learned from last year, that especially the last game where he was just god awful.
What do you mean the last game? Then in the overtime of the game before that?
Yeah, I mean, but I'm looking at more so the last game was just so bad.
You hope he's learned because he's come up short so many times in the playoff. Remember when they made that run against the Clippers? James Harden was he's come up short so many times. Chris Paul has come up short in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I think look at them individually. He never had Blake Griffin for half the time, healthy. So it's him against the world essentially, and James Harden the same kind of thing.
He never had it. He didn't.
So now collectively put them together, they can blend. Yeah. Eric Gordon can knock down shots. Trevor Ariza, if he can just defend, and maybe knock down a corner three or two.
Gordon better find his jumper because what is he from 32% this year?
Yeah, he's struggling. Awful. He's been struggling a little bit.
A little bit. He's been awful.
Yeah, but I think that I think overall, to me, I just want to see something different. I mean, if Golden State gets in, I'm fine with that. I just would like something different. Like Boston, Houston makes sense. Hell, even if Toronto and Houston made it or something, I'm just not a huge Spurs guy. I've never had.
Basically, what you're saying is you don't want Golden State, Cleveland again.
I don't want Cleveland at all. I don't care really who comes out of the East. It's not Cleveland.
You can handle Golden State.
I can handle Golden State. I know Byron and Alana and all them are probably going to throw up when they, if they hear that. But I mean, I wouldn't mind Golden State if they won it again. But after that, it's like, all right, that's enough. It's like kind of like those Bulls teams where it was like, all right, we three-peated. All right, let's get some new blood in there.
Stop it. We all wanted to see Michael Jordan in the finals. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop the blasphemy, Pete. We all wanted.
But see, I was a Sixers fan that had to suffer through the early '90s of Barkley leaving, and then it was like, here's the Sixers. And then Dana Barros is our All-Star that shouldn't even have been an All-Star.
You shouldn't have been a Sixers fan.
I can't help where I was born. Hey, my Eagles won the Super Bowl, so I'm happy.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
I got to say, before we go off, this is random as hell. I'm going to make Alana throw up again if she sees this. We just made her throw up with Golden State talk. I think if Philly gets in, it's going to be Miami who doesn't make it.
Oh, wow. See,
it's going to be Miami who doesn't get in. It will be Miami who misses out on the playoffs. Alana, you can send me a text message. You can tweet me. You can say all the nasty things you want. It's going to be Miami who doesn't get in. I like Philly. I'm sticking with them. They're still only 3 games back in the loss column of the 3 seed, Pete. I'm sticking with it.
Oh, man.
But be honest, Pete, they're still alive. It's still a possibility.
I mean, it's a possibility. Yeah, just the way they close games.
If they finish third, everybody needs to just bow down at my feet.
I mean, don't be shocked if a team like Indiana slides too, because Miles Turner has been awful this year.
That's the other one I was going to say. I think
Darren Collison's injury, that could be. I think Miami's fine. I don't think Miami's going to climb as high as 4 or 5 like I had them.
Milwaukee's going to be 3 or 4, right?
They'll probably be 4 or 5 depending on what Washington does.
You think Cleveland stays in 3rd? Because I think it's going to take time.
I
think that's going to with these new guys. I think it might take a little time.
I mean, it all is going to depend on Jabari Parker.
He's looked good. Good.
I mean, how fast he's able to ramp up minutes and be consistent. I think Cleveland still stays in 3rd.
What are the restrictions on Parker right now going forward?
He's 20 minutes a game for a little while. I don't know how long, but he's going to be at 20 minutes a game. Can Bradley Beal hold, Washington where they are? So basically you're looking at right now, you've got 31 wins. Cleveland's in 3rd right now at 31-22.
I look at the
9th
column.
is,
I know.
If Detroit is their 9th,
losses, 26 losses, right?
27-26. So I mean, Charlotte's not catching them. New York's not catching them. So it's basically a race between 5 and 9. Those teams in some kind of combo.
Yeah.
For the playoffs.
And the funny thing is, 5 through 9, one of those teams could end up 3rd. That's what's crazy.
Yeah,
because literally 4 games in the loss column separate 3 from 9.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
It's crazy.
Same thing with the Western Conference, 6 through 10. Essentially,
I think 1 through 5 are locks.
Yeah, 1 through 5 is locks. 6 through 10 is a 3-game difference.
Yeah.
And so that's crazy in itself, right there. You could see, Denver's won 3 straight, but they were struggling for a while. Portland's been struggling lately. New Orleans is probably out of the playoffs with no Cousins.
So what does it come down to between Utah and the Clippers for? Well,
yeah, Utah and the Clippers.
Utah could essentially get to 6.
Yeah, I mean Utah and the Clippers essentially, and I think New Orleans drops off, and a very decent chance that Denver might plummet down. I don't think they fall out, but they could be 8th.
They could. I think they might fall out. Because as you know, I know everybody's a big Jokic fan. I'm not as I think he's really good, but
right.
I think a lot of people overrated him going into this year.
But see, I think Murray and Harris they've been really to help them.
That's what I think has helped because I based on what I don't know how high you were on Jokic going into this year, but based on what guys like a lot of the bloggers and writers were saying, I mean, they had him in the top 15, 20 players in the league. And I was like, whoa,
no, I wouldn't say that far.
I don't even have him in the top. I think he's top 30, like between 26 and 30, but I wouldn't even have him in the top 25.
I'd have to run a list. I would say somewhere between 25 and 30, just based off the top of my head. I'd have to really run my top 25.
Some people had him between 10 and 15, and I was like, whoa, we got to stop that. No way.
I mean, if you look at it, the Clippers, I mean, it's all going to depend on, Avery Bradley, Lou Williams, like those guys, Tobias Harris, how he gels, like
Gallinari's back.
Gallinari being healthy. Like, can those guys all stay consistently healthy, for them to make a run? Because basically this makes or breaks Doc Rivers' job, in my opinion.
Austin's another one that's got to be healthy. He's been good.
Yeah, I mean he's been okay, but I think
good.
He's the worst out of Bradley, and Williams, and then you got Teodosic.
Yeah. Why does Austin Rivers get so much hatred? Because I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's great. I think he's good.
I think he's an above average NBA player, but I don't think
good player.
I think he's a decent. He could be in a 8-9 man rotation, but I don't think he's like your 6th man or even your 7th man. I think he's that 8th or 9th guy that you can plug and he'll have some good games, and then he's going to have some bad games.
Give you the 18 to 20 minutes a game.
Right. And I mean, people kind of hold him up to, what he did in high school, in Winter Park, Florida, and then Duke,
I think that's part of it too.
And then his mouth gets him in a lot of trouble too, because he has a big ego.
Yeah.
And people say that's confident, but to some,
it's going to sound. I thought he was way overrated in high school and college, but I believe he's an underrated NBA player because I think a lot of people think he's bad, and that's why I say he's underrated because I think a lot of people think he's a bad player. He's not he's a good player.
I mean, if he hadn't gotten saved by his dad, essentially. As far as being put in the rotation, because he was awful in New Orleans.
He was bad. He was a bad player there, but now, I mean, hey, thank goodness for his pops because he's proven he is an NBA player.
Right. I mean,
not a problem.
If he was to take another situation, like say, I don't know, say a team like the Knicks, take him on. Is he any better than what Tim Hardaway Jr.'s? Kind of producing?
Maybe not. I don't think he's as good of a shooter. Maybe he is. I mean, he shot the ball well.
I mean, just as an overall player, as far as like a marquee player.
Maybe not so much as the name. Like, I don't know, because I think he's a superior defender than Tim Hardaway. Austin Rivers was, before he got hurt, was maybe their best perimeter defender. He's a pretty good defensive player. I think you would agree. He's better than Tim Hardaway on that end of the floor.
But what I'm saying is night in, night out. Is he a player that you, as the opposing team, can say, oh, man, we're matching up against Austin Rivers. Like, we have to game plan for this. Like, I don't think you do.
I mean, well, it's kind of like Marcus Smart, though. You're not really game planning for Marcus Smart, but look what he does. You know what I mean? He's not the guy you're game planning for on the off when he's not off, but defensively,
Fair enough.
That's where I'm kind of going with. And Austin Rivers is become a pretty good shooter. Not great, but a good shooter.
Right.
Where he's 38, 39% from three, can get to the rim. I mean, obviously, Tim Hardaway's clearly a better offensive player, but I don't think he's a superior offensive player to Austin Rivers in that sense. I could be wrong, and maybe it is because he's playing for his pops. Right. We won't know until he goes to another team.
Or Doc Rivers isn't there anymore, depending.
Exactly. I think that's what a way to end the podcast.
Yeah.
Talking about Austin Rivers.
Oh, man. I wish we had something else that we could end it on just to be on a
Hey,
on some kind of.
I thought that was a good way to end it. Austin Rivers doesn't get a lot of love on podcasts, so you know what?
Maybe the him coming back, maybe the Clippers will surprise, and flourish, without having Blake Griffin now, and
Austin Rivers will lead him to the playoffs, right?
Maybe, we'll see.
And he'll make me look good for saying he's a good NBA player.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's going to end it tonight. We'll probably come back next Thursday again. I think that's a good night, to come back. I like Thursdays,
Yeah, I think that, there'll be some movement on the market with some guys too, especially, with the buyout deadline being at the end of the month.
Oh, we're definitely going to be, why we'll be back Thursday? Because we're going to do like we did. We're going to give our predictions for All-Stars. We're going to give our predictions for it. Yes. Cool. That's what we're going to do. We'll talk about anything that's gone on, buyouts, new signings, games that have gone on. So we'll go Thursday. Cool. And then tomorrow night, I'll be doing Czar's show again, the Sim Hangout. I'll be on there again tomorrow night.
Make sure everybody checks that out too. And I haven't basically a 14-month-old that never goes to sleep at a normal time. I'm hardly ever able to catch it live anymore. So I'm, sorry to Czar and Big Mom and everybody for not being in the chat, the past couple of weeks, but still obviously big supporter of the show. And we actually were able to plug the show last week on the NBA front office show. So
you plugged nice.
Yeah. Made sure to plug Sim Nation and just the Sim Hangout and everybody that, kind of watches is obviously is of course a basketball fan, because that's what we do for the Unquestionably Raw podcast. But I don't know how many people know necessarily about the Sim Hangout. Obviously, I've guested on it in the past. Matt's a regular now. Brian Mazik, a Forbes writer, huge video game guy, sports guy, big into boxing, hilarious. If you guys have not watched one of the episodes, you've got Nelson Blake II, aka Books Nelson. He's a Marvel Comics. Basically, he draws for Marvel Comics. Big Luke Cage guy. Very knowledgeable as far as the NBA goes. There's usually other guests that Czar brings on as well, periodically on there. And then Big Mama, of course, is the producer that kind of keeps everybody in check behind the scenes. That's says, let's move on topic, things like that. But for those that don't know, Czar is a NBA 2K producer. So a lot of the times the topics on the show will be, not only, real life basketball, but video games as well, as far as the 2K series goes. And then Brian Mazik is a huge basically advocate for the 2K League, which is a big component to real life as far as it connects with the NBA and video games. So they talk about that, and then Czar gives tips as far as being a producer of some things that may not be that great for 2K, some things that, behind the scenes that can be improved upon. Always looking for feedback. He keeps it positive, always tries to give, an opportunity to the next guy. I can personally attest to that, because that's how Matt and myself and Gonzo and, a bunch of others, Lance and different ones met each other. So always a big supporter to them. So make sure you check it out. It's usually about 10:15 on Friday nights. It's supposed to be 10, but sometimes the show gets held up with conversations.
Just like us, we're
never on time, but
never start time.
It's always a good conversation. But big shout out to everybody in Sim Nation. Big shout out to Big Kev. I know he's a huge Eagles guy. Our team won, man. So I'm ecstatic. I was glad those Patriots went down in defeat. So, but shout out to everybody, like I said, in Sim Nation, everybody that's watching watching this, and of course, our guy Byron, and
we couldn't leave Byron out. Go Rockets, right?
Oh yeah, Byron, I'm still waiting to get on one of these with you again, man. It's been too long, so we got to catch up, and Mike Skills as well.
Yeah, we'll get. Were you on with Mike when we were on about a month ago? You were.
Yeah, Yeah,
You know,
I always enjoy.
We'll try to get the band back together again for our predictions for the All-Star.
Yeah, get something together, here or there, or some kind of topic. Whether it might take as long as the playoff preview or something. There, but I always enjoy the conversation. I know, I'm not able to do as many of these, having a.
That's all right. I only do them once a week.
Yeah, so I can at least commit to that, for the most part. So glad everybody's still tuning in.
I got to give a plug to the NBA front office show featuring our former co-host Keith Smith, who is the host of that, and his co-host as well as we got Pete Toll and it's Con.
It's Connorell.
Yes.
It's part of the Bench Mob podcast, which is a bunch of different guys. I've listened to it. I'll be honest, I haven't listened to every episode because I can't listen to podcasts as much as I used to. But they do a great job of a lot of mock trades, like mock trade deadline stuff. They did every team in the NBA essentially. They do a lot of off-season preview stuff. We'll do that for the NBA front office as well. Khan's a very knowledgeable NBA guy. He's a Bulls fan. So he's always positive about the Bulls.
We got to bring him on with us.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's the producer of the show, so he does all the stuff that I do not enjoy doing behind the scenes, and don't really have the time for, nor does Keith. So he does a huge job helping us there with that. So
we need to get us a producer.
Yeah, I try to at least commit to one show a week, and I know Keith does his best and Con his best as well. We try to usually record whether it's Wednesdays or Thursdays, so usually it shows out no later than Friday. It'll be each week going forward, so we'll have something out there for everybody that wants to support that as well. Matt, real quick, man, tell everybody where your Twitter handle.
Yeah, they can find me at Matt UQR Podcast on Twitter. Like I said on the Hangout last week, you can see me argue with white supremacists on Twitter and all kinds of stuff. And not just NBA takes. You'll see me going after Donald Trump, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, Pete knows. He's seen it. Anybody who follows me they know. It's not just NBA. It's all kinds. My opinions are mine and mine alone. They do not represent anybody else.
There you go. You can find me at Pete Toll NBA on Twitter. Pretty active on there as far as retweeting and things like that, trying to support things. I don't post a lot anymore as far as myself, just because I've, obviously got my son now, and then, some different other real life ventures going on that take up majority of my day. So, basically this is it as far as, my basketball talk along with the NBA front office show. So continue to support us, continue the front office show, and continue the Sim Nation Hangout. That's it for me.
All right. Good stuff. All right. We'll be back next Thursday. So that's right. Everybody have a good weekend, and we will see everybody next Thursday night for our All-Star predictions. Hopefully Byron will be with us. So be on the lookout for that.